WNST. Tasks are very valuable and busy. I am one of the millions of followers of this guy. He's one of my favorite people. And, I've called to sort of soothe him post-Red Sox exit and to talk about all sorts of things that he does not talk about at the MMQB, where you follow him and read the Monday Morning Quarterback on Mondays now, and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays. We welcome back the man, the myth, the legend, the great Peter King, joining us live via satellite. Pete, I only get you on a couple times a year, and I'm not rubbing it in. I tried to get you on before the Red Sox were eliminated, so at least I got to begin with that this year. You expected this, though, right?
Of course, yeah. They're not in Houston's league. I would have loved to have seen a Game 5, but Craig Kimbrell is a good to very good closer. For a while this year, he was the best closer in baseball, but he gets hit too much, and what was bizarre to me is after the Game 4, they had a 3-2 lead. Chris Sale pitched so valiantly, 4 2/3, I think, or whatever it was. I mean, he pitched great. He is pitching on fumes, and he pitched great. And so he gave up a home run to tie the game. I don't think he ever should have been in the game for that extra inning, but whatever. He was in. He gave up the home run to tie the game. And so the narrative after the game was Sale, Kimbrell, cost the Red Sox. I mean, they're not even close to being in that game without Chris Sale pitching as great as he did for that length of time. But overall, I would just say this. The Red Sox made the playoffs and won this division because of Chris Sale and a pitching staff that made up for one of the worst lineups that the Red Sox have ever had. And they really need to add a bat if they want to have a chance to win a World Series, maybe 2 bats. And, to me, and I'll bring this back to Baltimore, I am a little mind-boggled how that lineup didn't contend longer into this season against a lineup as comparatively weak as Boston's.
Well, Peter, I mean, every pitcher had an ERA 6.5 at the All-Star. Yeah. Every pitch. I mean, I've been watching baseball my whole life. I turned 49 this weekend, Pete. I've never seen pitching as bad as the Orioles pitching. So, the home run thing goes a long way, and then you stop hitting singles. You never drew walks to begin with, and you start missing the ball, which you do a lot when you got 6 guys in your lineup that are going to strike out 100, 150 times a year. So, that's the nature of the game at this point, and I was shocked that they stayed in, and like you, I was kind of shocked that there wasn't a race at the end, that, all 7 of those teams in the American League, everybody just got out of Minnesota's way, and then Minnesota just got out of the way in 9 innings up in New York, and, we're into – look, I want to get some football in here, man. I ran into you at the Steelers game. You and I had a long chat about 20 minutes before game time about the knee, about the national anthem. You asked me how it was going to go. I know on the football field things have changed since Pittsburgh and Jacksonville and all the things and the Ravens go out to Oakland and win. But it's come back again to the knee. It's come back to Jerry Jones. It's come back to Donald Trump. It's back in the news. This thing's never going to go away because the president hates these guys, even though they gave millions of dollars. The president's pissed about not being in the NFL, and it's pissed about the USFL. And I think, he's just going to go get some blood anytime he wants to get it because the players of color in this league are going to keep taking a knee. I think everyone's going to fight against this, and I think the league has really, really handled this poorly, Peter.
I don't know what the league can do, really. I mean, if you're Roger Goodell, you try to tiptoe around it because you don't want to. You've got 2 sides in this. You've got 3 sides, really. You got the owners who are trying to figure out how to make everybody stand. You've got advertisers who basically simply want this to go away. And you've got Roger Goodell, and you've got the players who want their freedom to be able to do whatever they want, during the national anthem, because intelligent people like Doug Baldwin, Malcolm Jenkins, and a lot of intelligent people in this league say that we ought to have the right to do whatever we want to do during the national anthem. That's going to be a debate forever. I have no idea other than trying to negotiate a truce in this. I have no idea what the league can do to end this. But I do think right now that when I look at this as an issue, it's not going away. And one of the reasons it isn't going away is that obviously that Donald Trump continues to basically bait the players. And in my opinion, the players, this is just me. I mean, if I were D. Smith, if I were player leaders, I would say stop responding to Donald Trump. Just do what we're going to do, but stop responding to Donald Trump.
SI_Peter King is the way to follow him. 1.3 million folks do each and every day. And, of course, at theMMQB.com. All right, let's get on to the field here. Ravens get on a plane out to Oakland, and I'll get to why I wasn't in Oakland a little later on because it plays right into your love of animals and my love of my cat as well. But I didn't go out to Oakland this weekend, not because I thought they weren't going to win, but I did see signs in London and against the Steelers that too much Marshall Yanda, too much Brandon Williams, too much Brent Urban, too many injuries, too much inconsistency in young players that haven't stepped up enough. Then they go out to Oakland and, get that formula going. Big play, take the ball away, score some points, play some defense against a backup quarterback, and lo and behold, with Bears, Vikings, and Dolphins next up on the schedule over literally the next 15 days, the Ravens are very much in this, and if they can play to some semblance of the way they played in Week 1 and Week 2 and out in Oakland, we're going to have a real season here, Peter, and I don't know that I would have told you that at 4 o'clock after Ben Roethlisberger came in here and schooled the Ravens last Sunday.
Well, it wasn't only that, but in those two games combined, or in those two games, the Jacksonville game and the Pittsburgh game, the Baltimore Ravens averaged 233 yards per game, and the Baltimore Ravens averaged 3.1 yards a carry, and Joe Flacco could not get out of his own way in that game. And so I honestly thought going into that, it's too strong to say, well, their season's over. But I thought close to that. I watched all of the game in London, and obviously I covered the game in Baltimore. And I just thought, the Ravens really have to think of, even though, hey, and I totally agree, I think what they're missing on defense up front, especially Brandon Williams, and missing Marshall Yanda, those are two of your top 10 players. They're probably two of your top 6 or 7 players. And if they're both gone, that means that you're not going to be able to run it well, you're not going to be able to stop the run. And then they go out to Oakland. I think they had 370 yards or whatever they had. They dominate time of possession. They dominated that game. And I'm just saying to myself, that's why the NFL is so weird. Because, week to week, things can change so drastically that it's a smart idea to never have, an absolute feeling with finality really about any team in football other than, let's say, the Browns. I mean, the Browns at best are going to be 2-14 or something like that, and they're going to have the first or second or third pick in the draft. But everything else other than that just changes so much that it's wise never to make categorical statements at this time of year.
You fly 3,000 miles, and Peter, we haven't played well out there since, Gruden and Trent Dilfer in 2001. I mean, I've been on a lot of hurt-feeling flights back from the Bay Area and quite frankly, Joe Flacco and this organization hasn't been a great road organization, especially on long road trips. They have not fared well historically, and yet they come out of there with a win, and a relatively convincing win, given the way they ran the ball and the way they held the ball. Raiders almost got back in the game. Now I guess you got to be worried about the Raiders, right, who were an offseason darling, as they should have been based on the way they played last year. Boy, I see a lot of problems for Jack Del Rio out there, and then there's the antsy fan base on top of all that.
What I really dislike about what I've seen about the Raiders, so I covered the game. I was there in Week 2 against the Jets, where they just killed the Jets. They killed them. And what I really liked about that game is that they hung in there with the run, and they basically said, "Listen, it isn't just Marshawn Lynch. We got 3 backs that we're going to use interchangeably," and which was great. And they just absolutely dominated absolutely dominated the Jets on the run. And I know this because I had to look it up after the game on Sunday, that after dominating the Jets in that game, in their last 3 games, this team that is supposed to have this grinded-out attitude, this great running game, this thing that we're going to run even if we have some trouble running it first, this team has run the ball 53 times in 3 games. I mean, why? Why? And don't tell me it's because, like against Washington, well, they got behind early so they couldn't run. The biggest bad coaching decision that happens every week in the NFL is that some team is down 17-0 in the second quarter and then comes out and for the rest of the game throws 30 passes and runs 4 times. And the reason why I think it's so absurd is that if you're a great running team and you're going to have the ball, let's say you're in the middle of the second quarter, you're going to have the ball 8 more times in the game, maybe 7. Okay, you're going to have the ball that many more times. If you have faith in your running game to be an equal part of your offense, why do you give up? Why do you think you can't score 4 or 5 times in 7 possessions if you think your offense is so good? And so do what you're supposed to do. I can see being behind 17 with 12 minutes to go. Then you're going to fill the air with footballs. But until it becomes impossible, just keep doing what you said you were going to do and play the game the way that you were going to play the game starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Boy, so many good stories around the league in places like Buffalo, the Jets fan base, at least for a while. Clearly, Kansas City, Philadelphia, even Jacksonville, some of these places where it's been moribund in a lot of these places, right? I mean, there is some renewed energy. I mean, even the Los Angeles Rams, for whatever little fan base they have, 3-2 means something, I think, in a lot of these places where, and certainly 4-1 and 5-0 in Philadelphia and Kansas City. It's nice to see somebody other than New England doing this, quite frankly. Right?
Yeah, I always say that, or I always feel like in baseball, football, in every sport, I'm not a big fan of the same team winning all the time. I mean, I think there's something really admirable about what the Patriots have done, over the last 16 years, obviously. But, there's no reason why the Patriots could win all the time at the rate that they're winning. And I love seeing, believe me, week 2 of this season, I walked through the parking lots in Oakland, and I love those fans. In part, you love them because they are such an incredibly diverse, passionate, and different fan base. I mean, it's the only fan base where you walk through the parking lot. I shouldn't say this because I don't know it firsthand, but I think it's the only fan base where you walk through the parking lot. There's almost equal number of African Americans, Hispanics, and whites. And
that's a fair statement, by the way. I've walked through all 32 parking lots. I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
And that is what, in my opinion, the NFL should be after. That's one of the byproducts that I think is so sad about the Raiders leaving Oakland. That is as pure and as passionate and as crazy. That's like a college football fan base. I love going to games in Oakland. It is utterly fantastic. I don't care if the stadium is a dump. It is full of people, no matter what the Raiders' record is, it's full of people who love the Raiders. They're not fair weather fans at all. And that's one of the things that I love the fact that the Raiders matter again. And I hope that they can, at least, whether they make the playoffs or not this year, I hope that they come back, to prominence the rest of this year and at least are really competitive, because there's no fan base that deserves it more. But you're right. I love the fact, and I would love to see, I'd love to see 12 brand new teams in the playoffs this year. It's not going to happen, but there's nothing wrong with Buffalo beating New England. There's nothing wrong with Buffalo winning the AFC East and Tennessee winning the AFC South. Looks like that's not going to happen, but change is good, and I love seeing it.
Peter King joining us here from the MMQB and, of course, Sports Illustrated SI_Peter King. All right, Pete, we're going to get off of football here. I just want to give you a little personal anecdote about me and my wife because we are friends in the real world. We've gone to ball games and had meals together and all that. Our cat died when we were in Paris on the weekend of London very, very abruptly. She was the love of our life, 11 and a half years old. We only had her 5.5 years. And all I could think about was your dog, Bailey, and you writing about your dog. And on the flight back from London with incredible emotion, I wrote about my cat. So we came back, and it was so despondent in our lives at home. Getting back from London, we were jet lagged, team stunk against Pittsburgh. I got all sorts of things. My mom died 6 weeks ago. So I wrote this thing for my cat. We came home, and it was so quiet around here. And we were looking at the Oakland game, and neither one of us could get on an airplane and fly 6 hours away to do 4 days in the Bay Area, which we love, by the way. And Godspeed and thoughts to everybody in Napa and everybody out in California burning down. But we lost our cat, and Peter, you're a writer. I'm a writer. It's what we do. It's probably at art what we are. And when you lose an animal, dude, I read your piece, these 5 years ago, however many years it's been, and we went out literally, Peter, on Sunday morning here in Baltimore before the Raiders-Raven game where we were supposed to be in Oakland, supposed to be doing all the eating at Yang Sing, drinking margaritas at Tommy's, and instead we went out and adopted a new kitten. So there. Wow. So there's love of animal for
That's
you.
Great.
I skipped the Raiders game.
Happy for you.
And by the way, I love that stadium in Oakland, not because of the ugly fans. I love it because it's a time capsule of my childhood. It is walking into Memorial Stadium that doesn't exist anymore on 33rd Street. It's the one last chance you have, if you're an old fart like me, turning 49 this week, to somehow have the sight, the sound, the feeling of Memorial Stadium. The only one place that does that, it's Oakland, right?
I couldn't have said it any better. I think you're right about Oakland. Congrats to you on the cat. I wish everybody in America who could do it would rescue an animal. I'm a big fan of doing that, even though sometimes Chuck, my dog, drives me out of my mind. He's from Ellicott City, by the way.
Wow,
Chuck is.
He's a Marylander. Okay,
He was rescued from West Virginia, and something bad happened to him because, boy, is this dog skittish, even going on a year with us. But anyway, I agree with you about Oakland. I am a gigantic fan of Oakland. I'm a gigantic fan. And look, Lambeau Field is doing exactly what Fenway Park and Wrigley Field did. They're saying coming to this ballpark is as important to the fans who love this team as being a fan of this team. As crazy as it sounds, people in Chicago, they want to go to Wrigley Field. In Boston, they want to go to Fenway. In Green Bay and all over the country, people go in. They don't want a new stadium. They want Lambeau Field. They want the tailgating beforehand. And the Packers are, in order to try to maintain it, are building this big community right around Lambeau Field, so year-round you can come in and do stuff at Lambeau and be around Lambeau and really appreciate it and love it. So I agree with you. It's one of the things that, the NFL, in its lust to become this $25 billion business, which is their publicly stated desire, is, I think, when you sacrifice Oakland, that's an unacceptable sacrifice to me. And I don't care about if we go to Vegas, we're going to be at $15 billion. I don't care. And if you want to go to Vegas, that's fine. Don't take the Raiders.
Well, just look at the Chargers as an exemplary tale of screw-upitude, right?
Yeah. I agree with you totally.
Peter, love you, man. Appreciate you, and I certainly appreciate your love for your dog. And I'm just reading your prose here. What an empty feeling. You walk in the foyer, no Bailey. Look down the floor, no Bailey. We had the same thing with Kitty, so we went out and did something about it this weekend, and we're glad we did. And now I got a little kitten running around here going crazy, so it's a lot of fun.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. Congratulations to you, and I'm really happy you did that.
And you know what? We are 1-0 now with our new kitty, Nayla, watching Ravens Ravens game. So she's 1-0 in Oakland, so we'll take that. How about that?
That's what I like to hear.
Pete, keep the faith. We'll be reading the MMQB, and we'll hope to see you further on down the line. If the Ravens are any good, I'll probably see you again in December.
I'd be excited about it.
You got it, Peter King. He is SI_Peter King out on Twitter, as well as at SI and at the MMQB.com. One of my favorite all-time people, as well as reporters and writers. And if you've never read his Requiem for a Dog, Bailey, it's November 12th, 2013. Google it. I'm sure you can find it. You can read about our kitty as well, which cost me a few tears along the way. I've even got a kitty treats here that I'll hold up on the Facebook Live. They're little heart treats. You can probably see them. We are WNST.net, AM 1570. We proudly love animals, so get out to be more humane, as we did earlier this week, and help them out. You can also find us out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault. If you want to listen to anything you miss here, you can listen live anytime you want from anywhere in the world. Just download the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear. The morning newspaper ships to your email inbox each and every morning at 7 a.m. That is all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com, where it's still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life, guaranteed. No doubt about it. And don't forget, our tech service is our best service. It is breaking news. There's never spam. It's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday, driving you home from 3 until 5. It is the SSV on WNST. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me with emails, complaints, criticisms, love, hopefully no hate. There's enough of that in the world, quite frankly. Take that down the street. Take that out to Twitter where I can block you. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook Live, even holding kitty treats, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.